Hey y'all, Samantha, Sam I am, Swirls and Swags, Decor, welcome. We're going to make a bow with the worded ribbon. This farmhouse ribbon is very big print, so depending on your ribbon and your wording will determine how and where and all the things that you can do or not do or shouldn't do with yours. I'm just saying. Because that word alone, just the farmhouse itself, without any stars or anything, it's 12 inches by itself. That's a big word as far as, length. All right. So instead of me sitting here pre-cutting and trying to then describe what I'm doing, because it's, got to do it say it as I do it. I went ahead, I already had cut these for my tails. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have left stars on each end, but I didn't. So there's that. So be mindful if you want to as far as what's on yours, or, if you can, you might be like this and you can only do so much because this is a big word. And if you had to do it in the middle, if it's a smaller bow, it's fine. Do what you got to do. All right, I'm just doing this for demo purposes. Now I have the easy bow maker because I like it. I like it. So I'm going to face it towards me so I don't mess up. My star is going to be the center because both of the ends have about the same length of design at the end, which is very little, just a smooth pattern. All right, so my star is my center. Oh, before I start, because I forgot to do it on the last video. All right, so I did another video. If you hadn't seen it, it's a Christmas tree, One Directional. I'm going to cut this about 14 plus 16, 18, whatever inches long. If you're making a great big bow, you need more wire. This is 26 gauge. It is thin as shoestring. Shoestring is probably thicker, but you do want to use the thinner wire. Just know that if you pull too tight or fold it over or bend it, it can break. So we're going to just roll it up under our bow maker just to keep it from getting tied up with our ribbon, okay? And so I'm going to take my star and I'm going to scrunch up the center because that is my center, okay? And we're going to lay it in the bow maker. The bow maker is just basically holding my ribbon. Otherwise, you'd sit there and hold it with your hands. This arm I broke over a year and a half ago almost. This hand is no better. So anyway, there's that. Now, as I was sitting here trying to determine how can I make my farmhouse look pretty, like maybe have farm on this side and house on that side, y'all, it is not an easy task to do. Because when you're doing one-way ribbon, one directional, it's all going in one direction, we're cutting our loops at one time. So let me turn my ribbon, because your ribbon, let me show you something. Your ribbon should come off the spool where it's not in the way of your bow maker, but off to the side, okay? And I had that turned the wrong way. So that's really the right way, so it doesn't get in your way like our wires. That's why we tuck it under, so it doesn't get in our way. And we're just leaving our ribbon out as far as we can go. Now, again, back to the loops. Depending on how big of a loop you want, okay, typically my loops, I don't go beyond 6 personally because I don't like my loops beyond that big. I think people make great looking, great big bows. I'm just not one of them. I'm just, we are our own worst critic. So, but I was trying to determine, can I make farm on one side and house on the other? So, probably not easily, not without wasting a lot of ribbon, okay? Because even if I did it in the center right there, we're going to be pulling this over and we're going to overlap each edge just a little bit because that we're going to scrunch and put into the bow maker. So with that being said, I was trying to see, could I, but you're still going to have to put this in the center because where this goes, okay? So let's show you this method. I showed you in the tree bow, in the Christmas tree tutorial, how to cut each loop. So when you put it in there, you're overlapping the edges. Now I'm going to show you a different way and we'll see if it works. So that is, we've got our tail end. We're going to take this edge. We're going to put our ribbon facing down, but we're going to twist just enough on this side to put in between the dowel so it doesn't pull out. Okay? So just like you was making any other bow, you're going to have a little piece here. You're going to twist. Okay? Now, the thing is this is when it goes wrong, is when you have to twist it this way and you come back and the house is upside down when the farm goes the right way, okay? So let me just, this is chopping up a bow if you wanted to, but you would put that down straight. Now, you can, and I'm going to say we can, put this in there, and I'm speaking out loud just as I go. Now, there's really no way to put farm on this side without wasting a lot of ribbon, okay? So I'm still going to say that the way we were doing it is the best way. Now, if I did it this way, then what I would do is I would come in and I would twist, and then I would cut this off. Let me just do it and show you, in case you don't want to do it like we did the Christmas tree. Now, I'm going to be mindful because I can see my letter F right here. So I can cut just on this side where I still have enough in my twist in the center. Y'all, these scissors I got new the other day at my store here locally. All right, and that gave me a 6-inch loop, okay? Now, we're going to come over and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go backwards, okay? So we're going to make our 6-inch loop like so. That's 6-inch. I'm trying not to over waste. And then I'm going to scrunch it up. I'm going to put it in my bow and make sure that it is the same on both ends that I'm measuring it from, and they both are on the number 6, okay? See, 6 and 6. Now, then you could still flip this over without cutting that, because you got this side is always going to be right, okay? This one side is always going to be the right way. It's when you have to flip it that it becomes the wrong way, okay? So again, we could cut it off again. Just saying. Let me show you one other thing though. Hold on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut this off here, and that's leaving enough on each side, okay? So I could take both of these loops out. They're both separately cut. I did a video years ago doing this method, I'm sure. I took it down. I don't know why I took it down, but I did. All right, so if we did a 12-inch one peg loop like we did in the tree tutorial, I'll just tell you, we cut about, to make a 12-inch, a 6-inch loop, you've got to have 12 inches on each side. So we need 24 total. So 12 and 12. I'm trying to measure this out, y'all. Hang on. It's hard to see. My light is so blinding in here tonight. I don't. Now remember, you got to have a little extra, and I cut that at a yeah, that word, angle. So I'm going to straighten that up. So this is on my 12. That's actually like 12 and a half-ish. And that way I know I got enough for my center. So when I go to overlap it, I've got a little extra space. And I'm going to be mindful, and I'm going to cut it on this side. I'm going to leave a little bit more. Now, when we do this, then we can lap it, overlap it, lap it, overlap these cut edges. And you want enough that when you twist it into the, or you put it in your pipe, dowels, that it stays. So I've got about 1 inch-ish that's overlapping total, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches, okay? When we did this ribbon here, this bow, this is that silky ribbon. This is like, yeah, that word. Yeah, burlappy, okay? Now, before I do that, I meant to tell you, we're going to take our wire, and we are going to cross them over because we don't want to lose. We should have probably done it each time, but I didn't. So we're just going to do it now, and we're going to cross them over, and we're going to tighten that down as tight as we can. I always wind up with slack. You want to, especially this thick ribbon, you want to push that down as hard as you can. If you've got the Bow Dabra and you're using that little thing that goes in the middle, go for it. Now, make sure we don't untie it, because what we want to do now is cross our wires back, but not uncross them. We are literally making a tie. But if you was to do it the wrong way and unloop it, it's just going to be 2 wires sticking back out again. I mean, we still have both wires, but they're tied. But tie it as hard and tight as you can. We're going to stick that back under here, and that will help secure all these little ribbons until we get to the end. So again, I'm going to overlap these edges. I want to, what am I doing? I am doing almost 2 inches right there, 1.5 to 2 inches, because they're cut at an angle, okay? But I'm going to hold on to my pieces that are cut right here, okay? So the overlap part, and then I'm going to grab my tails right here, my loop ends, and I'm going to hold them up. That way, when I put all that together, I know that that is center. So I'm going to fold that in the middle. And I didn't get that even. See how I'm not even? So that's why it's important to try to do this first. And say I barely have any right there. So let's try to do that again. Okay. I think that's better. Maybe not. One more time, y'all. One more time. Okay. Make sure you got enough crossed under. Overlapping, because that makes a big difference. Make sure your wire is flat so it doesn't bunch up worse. Okay. So then I want to line up my loop ends, okay, and make a seam in these. We don't want a seam on these ends, because if you crunch that wire and bend it flat, you see a lot of people do that and then they fluff it out. Well, if you've got good enough wire in your ribbon, it might look great to do that and then fluff it out. But I'm going to suggest don't ever flatten your wires if you don't have to, like bend them and smash them hard, because that makes it harder to get that loop back in there. Now I pulled that out, and that's why you want to know. Because I ain't got it in there, y'all. That's why you want enough to crunch in that center. And I'm sorry if I'm overtelling, but some don't even, some of y'all are very new to bow making, and sometimes it don't matter how experienced you are, there is always something to learn. And I did this years ago, and I had to like rethink about how to do it. All right, so I'm going to pull my what do you call these? Tails, y'all, tails. All right, get that wire up. All right, because that was holding my tails from coming down. All right, so then we've got our longer loops right here, and these are a little over 5.5. That one's a little bit more, so we want to pull the top or inch it back just a little bit to get that to be the same length on each side. Okay, if that makes sense. Let me show you. So right here, you can see this one's just a little over 6, and this one's about 5.5. This one is 6 and a little over 5.5, a little more than 5.5, to be honest, almost at the 6. So the top one needs to go back that way just a little bit. And I promise you, you think, nobody will notice. Yeah, they will. You will. Well, if you're not sure, I promise, take a picture. Pictures will show you every little mistake or flaw or anything in your bow or wreath, or I'm sorry, I'm trying to say wreath, but I'm talking about a bow. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cross it, and we're going to recross just to get that tie in. Oh, gosh. Y'all, I don't know. I don't even know. What was that? Oh, I had a moth attack me in the other video. That was my plastic. Oh, my gravy, y'all. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. Anyway, all right. So, now that that's cut, okay, I do have a little piece that I was playing around with. So it is already at, but I was saying 17 inches. So we're just going to divide, because I don't know what half of 17 is. But this looped over is about a 7-inch altogether. Okay. So I've overlapped it, and we want to put that in the middle. Let's see if we can get our loops at the same height. Same height. And crunch them back wires where we're going to put it in the bow maker. Okay, that right there. Y'all, some of this ribbon is so thick, and if you've got deluxe or something, it's even thicker. It's not very easy to mash all this, especially if you've got bad hands like I do. I've had RA. I've got RA. Had RA since I was young. All right, so that gave me about a 3.5 inch loop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over like it goes, and I'm going to crunch it up my fold area right there. Now you can make these any sizes you want. You can keep on and on making a great big old bow till the cows come home to the farmhouse. Ha ha. Alright, so now we're going to make sure your wire's on both sides of your ribbons, and then cross it over. Oh, see, I went on the wrong side. And we want to again mash down all that fabric, because that is some thick fabric. Burlappy ribbon is very thick. Alright, so then I'm going to pull it out carefully. But once it's together, you shouldn't lose your stack because we've wired it as we've went, okay? But I haven't done that final tie down and made it tight, because what I want to do is I want to come right here and I want to smash it as hard as I can in the center and tie it. And then we're going to flip it, okay? And then we're going to bring it back here and we're going to twist it tight, like literally like you were tying your kid's shoe and you didn't want it to come off for a month. All right, twist that around a couple of times, and let me get this extra ribbon out of my way. All right, and then we're going to cut that wire off after you've twisted it a couple of good times. And then I'm going to, you can use either a pipe cleaner or zip tie. I prefer zip ties because I don't want nothing to break. All right, I'm doing this in black. Let me curl that wire down because it will get you. What you want to do is take your wire that you cut and twist it like into that loop in that middle. Twist it, like punch it in that center. Okay, and then take your zip tie and zip it on the back. But before you zip it tight, put your pipe cleaner, or however, if you need another zip tie, some people use zip ties to put it in their designs. And I'll show you about these other pieces in just a minute. So I'm going to take, this is a 20-inch, but I don't really need that long, but it's right here, so I'm going to use it. I was looking for it a while ago, and I done put it back up. All right, so now we're going to put that on the back. We're going to tighten this up as tight as you can. I need my other pliers. These are needle bows, and I can pull better with pliers. And keep pulling. I have pulled so hard that I broke the zip tie. So once it's tight and it ain't going to click, click, click no more, you're as tight as it's going to get. These are zip tie cutters. See how that head goes upwards? These came from Harbor Freight. They were like less than probably $2. That's been a couple of years ago, but you know. Now, if you use scissors or wire cutters, it's going to leave a sharp edge and it will slice your hand open. Be very careful if you don't know. If you do know, then you know. All right, now, before we do that, because this is black, what I'm going to do first, and this is suggested, is all these little places that we cut, you know, and left short because we did our each loop in there. I thought I wasn't recording for a minute. I was just going to get crazy. We're going to cut most of that off, but don't cut all of it off or it could slip right back through. All right, so that little piece, let's see. Now, if you've got, there is wires on them edges, and if they're poking outwards of the bow, then if they're handling it, you know, depending on what they're using it for, they could get poked by that wire. So kind of be mindful of your wires, if they're poking or not. You can take your wire cutters and snip the edges, or you could even, see how that wire is sticking all the way out right there? See how that wire is sticking out? That will get somebody. Yes, it will. It'll get you, get them, get everybody. And then your customer ain't going to be happy. So do everything you can just to, you know, be cautious of that. All right. And also, when you're doing that, I promise you, there's wires all over your desk and into your floor. I do have magnets that I use in here to get them up because I got my doggy and me and anybody else. They have worked through my shoes, y'all, through the bottom of my plastic. I heard it hit. I'll check it in a minute. You hear it hit the floors, but I've got a wooden floor. It's no carpet in here. This is my game room, in case you don't know if you're new. This is AKA the game room because this is where all the kids gathered to play their games. So I'm coming through here and I'm going to cut these other, especially on that wire edging, and get rid of that. All right, so then what I was going to say is we can do this. I don't want to waste a lot, but I think I have a little piece. Hold on. I do. Okay, so I got a little piece I was playing with the other day. So you can take your glue gun and you can glue this, or you can just fold it. If you were going to glue it, I'm doing a trifold. I would take and glue. Y'all, this name that says Farmhouse is very thick. Like, you know, it was ironed on. It is very thick. So anyway, you could take glue and glue it down. But, you know, I'm going to go right in and I'm going to put the clean spot on the very front, in front of that zip tie. And I'm going to come back around. And you don't want to have your pipe cleaner that you're going to use to attach. What have I done? Hold on. Oh, see, it was crisscrossed up in there. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be on each side, and then tie this in. You do want to do a double knot. I'm not going to do it for time's sake because I'm trying to hurry. And so, and this ribbon is very thick, but take your pliers, y'all, not wires, pliers. Because my hands are weak as all. I am kidding. I get in here with pliers on both sides of it. Once you got that good and tight, then you can bring your pipe cleaner or your, you know, if you got a zip tie, then you're not going to be tying it in. But a pipe cleaner, I would at least twist it a couple of times. And then your bow is made. Oh, hold on. I'm saying, oh gosh, y'all, don't make sure that when you do your lettering that you do have them all going the right way. I had it folded under and I thought, oh gosh, I done put it upside down. It happens. All right, so let me hold that. Okay, that's the end of the back. All right, so then, and I didn't get that very even. It's because it's so thick. But hang on. Once you open these little loops up, we can finagle that in the center. Okay, it's because that's so thick. All right, so then pull your tails down. I'm trying to do it towards y'all. All right, so here's my big farmhouse. And remember, you only got that little piece in there that we twisted, okay? So don't get cray-cray. All right. I am bringing my longer loop to the back and my shorter loop to the bottom front, okay? I do have a bow fluffer. I just don't want to get it out, y'all. All right. It's my own homemade one. All right, so anyway. Okay, so open up your loops. That's why I was like, don't flatten out your loops, y'all. A lot of people just go crunch and want to show you how they fluff it back out. That's all great and dandy, but I promise you that is not what you want to do. And that don't look very centered back there. I may have gotten that one. Oh, see, now I just pulled that right out, so let that be a lesson. That's why we don't do that. You would think I had that tight enough, but I didn't. So we're going to pretend I didn't do that, and I ain't doing this over, y'all. But you can go back to this video and do it just like I did it, which is how we did the top of these loops, which you just cut one and then fold it in there. Okay. That's because that was so big and I'm trying to pull it over out of the way. So yeah, so we're just going to pretend that nothing happened. And it's because that one right there, y'all, I'm funny when it comes to bows. I will take them apart. I always feel like, that's why I don't make big loops, is I don't feel like they hold up good and pretty, and it does depend on the ribbon. Okay, so we're going to pretend like all that is fine and dandy, and Samantha didn't just tear that out of there, but that does show you how that happens, y'all. That's why you want to twist that and tie that in there with that wire very tight and securely. But you do have the method. I'm giving you the method of how to put it together. Maybe not, you know, I manhandle stuff, and I really do, and I don't mean that wrong. I mean that truly. I'm just always, I want to pull it tight and get it right and make it look good. And I have pulled them out a many a time, y'all. I have put a bow together over and over because of stuff like that. And that's just where I didn't tie it on the back, okay? That's that knot in the center. But, y'all, this is how it will look if you do it right. It'll all go in one direction, and you won't lose no loops. This is using all one-piece loops that are lapped over. So be sure to watch that video, and maybe tomorrow or another day, y'all. I did do these videos the other day, and I did them like I am right now in the view, but I had also pointed y'all back up right, tall, vertical, and I couldn't get the video to flip around like it needed to, so I had to just throw them away, and here we are. But thank y'all for watching. Any tips, comments, suggestions, nothing rude or ugly. Look, you know, it happens, y'all. But we can fix it. We're crafters, is what we do. But y'all, that is a pretty bow, even if it did tear the loop out. Do want to secure them in there good. And then you can either cut your edges as you want. I don't like to dovetail that just because of the letters. I prefer to go at an angle. What, y'all? Cut smooth. That's one thing about this wire ribbon. This ribbon too is it's so thin. It's the burlappy stuff, y'all, and it just frays. Oh gosh, y'all. I promise you, that's how my day is. But if you was to notch that out like a dovetail, let me just show you. That's gonna look really weird to me. Now, if you like it, then you know. And some people don't care. You know, at the end of the day, it's gonna look cute no matter, right? But especially if it's a Christmas though and a holiday, you might, especially if it says Merry or Merry Christmas or something, you might want to be more mindful of how you cut your edging. Other than that, make yourself happy, make your customer happy, and don't tear your loops out. Y'all have a great afternoon. Bye. Hey y'all, Samantha, Sam I am, Swirls and Swags, Decor. Welcome. This is the farmhouse bow that I uploaded. Today is Tuesday, y'all, the 29th. And I know what I did wrong that made our piece pull out last night. So I thought, well, instead of just leaving y'all hanging, let me fix it and show you why it did that, okay? And I was laying there in bed, and I thought, well, I can't leave that like that. So I wanted to show you exactly why it did that, okay? So I started, of course, that's the piece that, you know, we pulled out. I already untied my little center, and now I'm going to cut the zip tie, because we got to redo it, okay, for me to show you what I did wrong. Y'all, I probably need some new pliers, probably. I don't know. Let me get the zip tie cutter, because I don't know. They're made for it, y'all. I was probably cutting through the wire and the plastic anyway. We are going to take all our wire off. There's my pipe cleaner that we attached to the back so we can attach it to our bow, our wreath, or whatever we're attaching the bow to. We're just taking this back apart. Do not drop your little wires everywhere. Make sure you don't leave them laying in your floor. All right. Snip, snip, snip. All right. And remember, every time you cut ribbon, there's always a little wire somewhere that comes off of the bow, off the ribbon itself, off the bow, off the ribbon. All right. So let me just show you a quick little thing that I do love. And y'all, I think I got it at Dollar Tree, but it's a extension. You can probably get them anywhere for real, but I do like it because when last night, and I just dropped another one, I can go in my floor and just zoom it back up. Okay, there it is. I just water it around the floor and it picks it up. Although I'm not in carpet, I have a solid wooden floor, and it will pick up every little snippet of wire. So now that that's over, now we know that. We're going to go back out with our 26 gauge wire, okay? We're going to get a piece about, I don't know, whatever makes you, it depends again how big you're making your bow, but this one is not that big, but I'm going to get about a 16 plus inch piece of wire, just, I don't know, 20 inches, whatever. This is 26 gauge. Remember, the bigger the number, the smaller the wire. And it will break if you overbend or twist or whatever, okay? So remember that. Let me throw this other thing in the garbage. All right. So now, what I didn't do last night was, in the other video, is I didn't wire when I made each loop. So I wanted to come back and show you because that is important. So I don't have to worry about my roll or anything. We're just putting back all our little pieces that we have. We're starting off with our wire in the center of our dowel or bow maker, whatever you got, or if you're holding it by hand, whatever. And we're just going to twist that up under just to hold it up out of our way. Now, we have our tails. We're still going to re-scrunch them, and we're going to put them right back on top, okay? And because this ribbon is so thick, these are like ironed on, you know, like you would. They're like an iron on, y'all. What am I trying to say? like heat transfer vinyl, whatever. They're very thick and it's really hard to get it tight. So as I put my tail in, I'm just going to go ahead so that I get a good tie on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and cross my wire one time, okay? And that gets me right there in the middle. If you do it right, and let's just cross it again because it ain't gonna lay flat if I don't. All right, so recross, not untying, but making it where you've got an actual tie around your ribbon, okay? Step one, especially thick ribbon, okay? And this is for the worded bows, okay? So they go in. So here we are, we got our ribbon going one way. Now, last night, we did it where, let me get the right piece. We cut two pieces. One is as farm and one, you know, they're not, because they're going in one direction. You can't really turn it a different way and it be, unless you know, I don't know, double loop it. Anyway, here we go. So to where this don't pull out, you can see where I had it twisted. Okay, let me, I don't know, I think I got y'all zoomed in. Let me move that out of the way. Some of y'all want this zoomed in really big, and I think for the most part it's pretty close. All right, so we took our farmhouse, we've got our loop. This loop is going to be, once we twist it, it's about a 6-inch loop, because you've got to have enough on your twist side to put in. And see, we done snipped that from last night, so I don't have as much over here because we cut it, remember? All right, so, and I'm going to put these videos together and upload them again to my YouTube. But on Facebook, you'll have the other one and then this video. So if you didn't see the other one, you can scroll back to 9/29 and see it, because today's the 30th. And then what I'm going to do, this is what I didn't do last night, is I've got this one loop in, okay? And like I said, it's actually now, because I can't go as far because I got to have some on each side, okay? You've got to have a little piece on each side that you can wire in. So it made my loop, instead of being 6, it's like 5.5. It's fine. Again, I'm doing this really. But this is what I didn't do last night. I waited. I had both of my tails, my loops in, and then I tied it in. You want to tie each loop, each tail. Each time you put a new ribbon in, you want to tie it in. Therefore, you don't do what I did and it come out as easily. Now, depending on the ribbon, especially that silky, satiny ribbon, it will and can, and a lot of times will, pull out if you pull too hard. All right, wait, we got to make sure we're going the right way. Make sure your letters are going upwards. You got to think about what you're doing, okay? So, I don't think that's the same. Okay, that one's 5. This one's 5.5. And again, it's because let me see if I can stretch that out just a little bit. Okay. So, and a way to check it is to pull it up. And it's kind of hard because you know you got it knotted and all that. So it doesn't really give you the truth. So do measure your loops out to make sure. And they are the same on my board. It's almost to 6 on each one. Okay. Almost to 6 on each side. Okay. So now, again, we got a little bitty piece on this side that we twisted. And then we're going to take our wire and we're going to retie that in. Hang on, don't get it around. Get off. All right, you want to come between your dowels and cross. And then come again and do not uncross them, but you do want to recross to tie it like in a knot. Okay? Now, pull it tight. And I lifted that up just a little bit and I could feel it tighten up all the way down again. So, depending on the thickness, when I lift it, because you got it wired, it ain't going nowhere. It don't matter how far up you want to bring it. But you do, if you'll raise it up a little bit and pull tight, you'll feel it tighten up if there's any looseness in your wire. Okay, so then we came in with one big piece that was cut at, I think it was at 28, but I've already, this is actually going to be, this one is, let me just tell you, it's actually 26. Because I probably cut some of that off. So anyway, what we're doing is we're taking this piece and we're overlapping it, okay? This is how you would tie one loop at a time to have your words going a certain way. this is the easiest method, and it doesn't pull out as easy because you're overlapping it and you're cinching it up to be one piece. Okay, let me get that a better cinch. Okay, you just overlap it about an inch or two, inch and a half, just whatever you feel comfortable with. This is very thick, so I'm overlapping it by 2 inches. Okay, but I'm going in between those 2 inches and I'm gathering my center. Okay, and then we're keeping it pinched, and we want to make sure that our words are going in the right direction, and we're going to push it in, and again we're going to cross our wire and pull tight. Let me see, I see my ribbon tail. Let's see which one that is. I see a wire from the ribbon sticking out, and if I can hide that, I want to. Let's see, hang on. Okay, because when I cinched it, just know that those little wires on the ends of each cut, they're there, and they will get you. And it was poking out a little bit. I'm trying to just fold it under. So let me get my wire back right. You want to have your wire one on each side of your dowel. Okay, every time, make sure, and then make sure your letters are going in the right direction. Okay, make sure your ribbons are laying as flat as you can. That way when you tie it up at the end, it's not all bulky or overly bulky. All right, and then we're going to recross it one more time to tie it in a knot. Okay, so, and again, I'm going to raise it up and I'm going to pull tight just to make sure there's no loose wire. A lot of times it's very loose on the bottom. It winds up having a little piece, but we're going to go back around it anyway. All right, so this little piece that we're putting on top, it actually measured, it's like right at 8 inches. It probably was 10 or 9-ish last night. But anyway, however, you can make all these as big as you want, as many as you want. This is just how you would do it to where they all face the same way when you have a one pattern, a worded, that's all going in one direction, and make a bow without it being upside down and willy-nilly. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to re-cinch this, but let me see how that little piece pokes out. So make sure that your ribbon sides, the wire, are lined up pretty good. That does help it from poking out on the edges. Alright, so then I'm going to make sure that I get it in the middle by holding it. I'm pinching it in the center, okay? And then I want to make sure that when I bend it in the center, that my tails, my loops, loops are the same size on each side. And if you're cutting precisionally even, then you'll know, but these are not, because anyway. So scratch it back up the center, flip it over, put your nice words upwards, put your cut piece down, and put it in. Try to make sure it's as centered as possible. Double checking all your letters are going in the one way, and they are. If you wanted another tail, you could definitely throw that in, and we could do that, and that's got the star on each side, so why not? When in Rome, I don't know what they do, but let's just do it. But no, okay, hang on. What I'm going to do is I am going to put that in there, but I'm going to go under my bottom, under this other small bow loop. All right, so I'm going to hold that where I got it cinched, hold it, and I'm going to put this in the center. And being that my stars are pretty much even on each end where I've got it cut, I'm just going to go straight down in there. This is measuring out to the 8. That ain't even, because this one ain't measuring to the 7. So, and again, if you're not sure, especially with all this bulked up, it does get a little crazy sometimes. Lay it down, and you can fold this edge, but if that was going to be a loop, don't fold it like that, because once you crease that wire, it doesn't fluff out nicely as it would have had you not bit the wire. Now, we're going to put that in, and I'm going to wire that across just to make sure. I'm not going to do it twice. It's just a piece of ribbon. It's not going to pull out because it's one solid piece. Okay, so we're going to re-scrunch that. We're going to put it in. Make sure that those are pretty even in there. And then we're going to cross it in the center. And we're going to recross it one more time. Make sure you're not untying, that you are literally tying it in a knot. Pull it as tight as you can. If your hands are weak, get you wire pliers, not the cutters, but like a needle nose. These usually come in a set. These are considered like a dike, and these are needle nose, but you usually can get them in a set at Walmart or even a hardware store, Lowe's. It don't matter, y'all. Probably Dollar Tree too. I don't know. Walmart definitely, and all that. But there's many times I have to get my big wire pliers and these and pull. Now, I feel like that's not even because it looks like I got more loop on this side. Hang on. Let's pull it out. I know this side's bigger, which drives me nuts. Okay. Now look. You see all the wire around each ribbon? But when you get done, and it's not going to go nowhere because one is wired in the center, okay? Now, I don't like my top one because it's not even on each side as far as the loop size. So I'm going to just inch that over just a little bit, and I am going to push this down, my whole stack. Push it down tight. Make sure that that ribbon lays like you want it. So when you do, I'm going to twist this twice in the center. I'm going to flip it over upside down. Bring your wire around the front. And if you'll put your hands around the bow, hang on, put your hands like so, okay? You've got your stack, you've got the wire between your finger and your middle finger, index, okay, and then if you'll pull, look how much I've already tightened, and I just heard that pop. You will break wires, but then once you get it as tight as you can, hold the wire and spin your loops and ribbon, not the wire, okay? So then, flip back around, okay? And see this piece right here, where I pulled it around to the back? It's not tight. Can y'all see that? You see how loose that is? See? Okay? So when I say, trim it to the back and really tighten it in, that's why I like going around mine. I'm going to smash it even harder. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to use them. This is where your wire will break. You can use a pipe cleaner by all means, but we're going to put a zip tie around it because we don't want it coming apart once we're done. This 26, y'all, so many people gripe about it, but it's because it's so thin, okay? But it's good because it's thin and you can tie each loop and tail in, okay? So now that we've done that, I'm going to cut this excess wire off. I've tightened it up as good as I can. And then I'm going to take my pliers, my needle nose, and I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to twist it to the back into the loop knot, just so it doesn't poke me or anybody or anything else, okay? So then, make sure your tails, I've slid them around, jerking it around. All right, so then I'm going to take a zip tie, excuse me. Let me throw these wires in the garbage, hang on. Okay, so we do have a pipe cleaner and we got a zip tie. So we're going to go back around that center. This is really to hold it tight, but before you zip it, if you're using a zip tie, make sure you put wire, your pipe cleaners, or whatever you need so you can attach it to whatever you're going to attach it to, whether it be a wreath or whatever, okay? And then pull that tight. And it'll, until you hear it stop clickety click click clicking, there's always more to pull, okay? So pull it snug as you can. Now, I do pull with my pliers because it's easier. I still have that little piece of wire right there. I'm just going to try to fold it up around that. Now we're going to cut our zip tie off. These are zip tie cutters. They have a little bent head. I got these at Harbor Freight for less than like $2. I don't know. It's been a couple years, but I love them. They got that angle, and that keeps that zip tie from having a sharp point. If you use scissors or wire cutters, it's going to leave a sharp point, and that point will rip your hand open. So if you don't know, now you do. All right, so now I'm on video. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. All right, so then I'm going to take my piece that I just took a little piece and I cut it, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 inches, depends how big your stack is. Because what we're going to do is we're going to tie that around. Don't like twist your pipe cleaner yet. Leave everything like it lays out. And that way, now you can glue this together. I just tri-fold it because it's a 2.5 inch ribbon. Now, if you're using smaller, you might just want to use, that ribbon as itself. Either way. And then we're going to pull it back here and we're going to tighten a knot. And you really want to double knot this, but because this ribbon is so thick, I really have a hard time, and I didn't cut a big enough piece. So if it's very thick ribbon, cut a bigger piece so you can pull it easier. Whatever you need to do, just because. Let me use both these pliers to show you if I can. And pull it as tight as you can. Even with these pliers, I'm pulling the handle off. Okay, that's how thick this is. But again, it's the print. And it's also the burlappy ribbon. Now you can come in, and if you're using a pipe cleaner, that wire, I would suggest to twist it at least once twice, so it doesn't go anywhere. Because if you don't, then it'll pull right out of your bow if you don't at least tie it twice or so. Now, let's try not to tear it apart this time. All right. So, we're going to pull our tails down. And you can, and remember, we added this extra tail. Hang on, we'll see how that looks. I forgot about that. So now we've got our 2 larger loops. If I can get my fingers in there. And we're not going to overly manhandle it. Now you could do a cut, but because this has my start, see how that, okay, it frays because it's that burlappy ribbon. All right, but I'm not going to over pull it out today. But because I did go back and I rewired each piece, I didn't do that last night. I put both of these cut pieces and then I tied it. You want to tie each piece, especially if you cut it in half and you're putting a loop, half a loop, and then a half a loop. Definitely need to double tie it. Twist each each layer, each loop layer, each loop, because that's why it pulled out last night. That's why my loop pulled out. All right, y'all. My hands don't work like I wish they did. They do what they want, how they want, when they want. All right, so I think it turned out so much pretty. Now, if you don't like that extra, you can pull it down. There's that. And that way you've got stars. Okay. So let me show you one more time. And that's what I was trying to do last night, is because this is so wide, I think my loop wasn't showing as big as it should right there in the center. So, but they're the same. All right, so anywho, I'm going to hold all this back here on my hand. And I think that is pretty. It turned out great. That is what I didn't do last night, is wire in each section of those cut loops. I can't leave y'all hanging and not know why that did that, because that is important if you're going to do that method of cutting, which, if you know Damon, he calls it Edward Scissorhands. All right. And then again, I did 2 different ends to show you how that would look with this large farmhouse ribbon. From one end to the other of that farmhouse itself, it was 12 inches. So by the time you add the stars, it is probably 16. It's every bit of 16. So that's a long word. So if you're dealing with smaller, but if it comes to where you're a little bitty wire right there, if it comes to where that you're twisting in the middle, sometimes you just can't help it, because you can't waste ribbon to save a whole word, So that happens. But this is so pretty. I think it turned out great. I just wanted to show y'all how to do that right. So I hope y'all have fun. Give it a try. Let me know if you do and how it turns out. Send me pictures, y'all. I love to see what y'all create. Let me show y'all up close. I know I'm on a limited space, so if I had, I could flip my camera, I would, but I can't. So that's why these videos are late, because I had you flipped back and forth different ways during my other video, to which that wasn't going to work. Y'all have an awesome day. I will see y'all live soon. We'll do something, but enjoy. Go make a bow. Bye.